Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcasts, your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news. Well, not so much weekly because there have been quite a number of gaps recently, but you know what I mean. Do we say, yeah, why do we say you? I was saying your weekly, sorry, I'm just jumping ahead. Rob's here. Rob, why do we say weekly injection of mind-numbing local news when even when we did Daft Talk, it wasn't weekly, it was bi-weekly. We just forgot that in the slogan, we just kept it in.
Well, I think the thing is, if you think the majority of this podcast, when we were doing LA, which formed, the bulk of the last...
Rob, this is a politician's answer. We made a mistake. No. It's not your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news. It's just your injection of mind-numbing local news.
Alex, it just made me very aware. I halfway through that sentence, I realised we are now in our 9th year.
Wow.
We obviously missed a milestone in February. So, yeah, we are now into our 9th year of podcasting. And my answer was basically because, LA podcast has been the staple. And it was weekly. It's only recently changed to bi-weekly. Hopefully we'll go back to weekly at some stage or another. But yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
It doesn't matter. Hello, Rob. That's Rob for everybody who's wondering. We are recording on Sunday, the 23rd of May. It is 10:40 a.m. It isn't raining, which is a nice change. And this is episode 337 for the fastidious amongst you. And we do apologise about the gap, but for God's sake, stop complaining. Rob's just had a baby.
I mean, it wasn't just me, Alex. You haven't been... Don't lay the burden solely on my shoulders.
Sorry, that's true. And then I wasn't particularly well, not COVID, but had that. But so we had to delay a bit more. But the point is, yeah, so I wasn't meaning to blame you, Rob. I meant the main reason why we're recording fortnightly at the moment is to give Rob space to raise his spawn.
What a lovely way of putting that. It sounds like there's been like an infestation or something.
Okay, look, I just feel, Rob, is there any, we're going to say is there any news, but we do have to mention straight off the bat, headline, Face Strange in another, who is one of our long-time listeners and is an artist, has created another incredible, well, I don't know how to describe it. It's a, what's that word that I'm thinking of?
I'd say it's a pastiche, but it's not a pastiche. So it's basically it's a collage.
Yeah, you're getting close to the word I'm thinking of too, but doesn't matter. It'll come to me later.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic summary of the last episode, which obviously summarised the story of Brian Robson. Whether it was the football manager or not remains to be seen. So basically, a man posted himself back from Australia to the United Kingdom with the help of two mysterious characters called John and Paul. And we speculated, obviously, well, that's John and Paul from the Beatles. And so he has mocked this up for us, and it is superb.
But it's all the details, Rob. It is the fucking details. I mean, he listened to every part. I mean, oh my God, I absolutely love that. I assume you stuck it on the Facebook page?
I have indeed, yeah.
By the way, tableau was the word I was thinking of.
Tableau.
A group of models or motionless figures representing a scene from a story or from history. And that's what he does best, Rob.
He does. I mean, the one thing, so I had a quick chat with him just to thank him for it. And also I was very conscious I hadn't responded. And he did say that, he was very interested in the Bernard Manning turkey fights. But ultimately, he felt that the Brian Robson story captured the imagination.
Yeah, that was brilliant. What if Face Strange was, in fact, Banksy?
I mean, I would be over the moon if that was the case, by the way. I mean, I would be absolutely delighted. I mean, the fact that he even supports this podcast and makes regular contributions is hugely appreciated. And also, I'm going to plug it again. He does have a Redbubble store, and obviously I've bought a face mask from him. I would encourage others to have a look as well.
Yep, absolutely. Right, Rob, is there any other news before we crack on with our stories?
Just a few bits and pieces. So the stories are still coming in thick and fast, so thank you everyone for that. Just to say, Kuiper has provided some pictures. We mentioned in the last episode the chocolate rabbit Cumberbatch creation, what the fuck that was. And there, if you go to the forum, there are links to various different websites. It's also made in white chocolate as well, if anyone's interested. Also, I think, was it the last episode we talked about there was someone who created it was the penis sculpture.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Steve
sent to a friend as a prank. Yes.
Yes, the 7-foot penis sculpture. Well, Steve sent a story in from the Burton Mail, I think it was Burton Mail, or it was Burton Life, perhaps. And the headline was pranksters in Staple Hill have managed to create a giant picture on the washlands next to Ferry Bridge. Basically, that picture is a massive cock with some semen emanating from the crown. Council grounds maintenance staff believe that the culprits used weed killer to make part of the grass go yellow. The hilarious show was spotted by a DHL pilot as he was flying into East Midlands Airport.
Okay. Yeah.
It's sizable as well. It's quite impressive, really.
Thank you, Rob, for the cock update.
No problem. And I think that's pretty much it. And like I said, I'm getting the feeling, obviously, there is a lot of space between episodes, so it might be coming up to the point where we need to do a listener story special.
I always enjoy those. Yes, please. Okay, let me start off, Rob. Look,
no worries.
I'm going to do a story here from the Traitorous Guardian. By way of Japan, Rob.
Okay.
It's by Justin McCurry, who is currently resident in Tokyo, so he claims. I mean, he could just be lying. And the headline is, Japan bullet train driver disciplined for leaving controls to go to the toilet.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, I am a train aficionado, and
I was about to set you up there. I was about to say, yeah, Rob is a train spotter. So it's for
no.
Do you want to tell anybody about the bullet train, Rob? Any facts, figures?
I don't actually have any facts or figures. I just to say, obviously, it's one of the fastest trains in the world. Has been for many, many years. I think it goes in excess of, I have a feeling it's over 300 miles an hour. So, I mean, the fact that the driver walked away and I mean, I imagine, Alex, we have talked about it on the podcast that, we are both men who unfortunately need, when the urge strikes us, we need to go.
Yes.
That may be because we're of a certain age. So, I understand that this particular man obviously may have been in that position, but in that particular situation, that could have had catastrophic consequences.
Indeed. Well, a driver on one of Japan's Shinkansen bullet trains is facing disciplinary measures after he abandoned his cab to go to the toilet while the train was carrying passengers and travelling at 150 kilometres an hour. Not really that fast.
Maybe I got that wrong.
Yeah. The 36-year-old driver, who has not been named, reportedly had a stomachache, so basically needed a shit, and asked the conductor to take his place while he went to the toilet. The conductor, who is not qualified to drive the Hikari series train, sat in the driver's seat during his 3-minute absence, which is a quick shit, Rob.
Yeah, it is.
But did not touch. It didn't even touch the sides. But did not. but did not touch the. It was like a bullet train, Rob, emerging from a tunnel.
It just flew straight out.
Yeah, but he did not touch the controls, according to the Kyoto news agency. The incident happened last weekend as the train carried 160 passengers at high speed along the busy Tokaido line, which links Tokyo and Osaka. The driver might have got away with his unscheduled toilet break, except for the fact the train was subsequently 1 minute late. Which, Rob, if only we lived in Japan, prompted an immediate investigation in a country famous for punctuality. Don't you love that? 1 minute late and it's a national scandal. That is standards, Rob.
The fact is, in this country, they actually factor in longer waits at stations so they can alleviate the need to investigate the lateness of a train. That is efficiency, Alex.
Do you know, Rob, a very good friend of mine once worked on the railways, Rob, and needless to say, he managed some of the railway networks and that kind of thing. So he was high up. And one of the things he said to me is that the culture behind the scenes was very much a kind of if things went wrong, it was the fault of the passengers. That is very much the mentality apparently behind the scenes.
I mean, that's disgusting.
If only so many people weren't using the trains, we wouldn't have a problem. That kind of thing. Anyway,
right. So basically, because people are using the trains and putting too much strain on the railways, that's their fault. Just to say, I just want to correct myself. So the bullet trains go between 150 to 200 miles an hour. The maglev trains, which obviously use magnetics, they go 375. Just to clarify that further.
Right. Oh God, I've forgotten what I was going to say now, Rob, because of you and your.
I needed to issue that correction, Alex, so I didn't want to feel like I was misleading people.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you know, Rob, it has been, whatever it is, about 14 months since I have used a train.
Really? Wow.
Well, when did you last use a train?
Not that long ago. So on the day that Sarah gave birth, because we had been up for probably about 22 hours, I decided it probably wasn't safe for me to drive. So I actually got the train back from Harlow to Bishop Stortford, which is only like 7 minutes. And actually, it made quite a pleasant change, actually.
Right. Mashiro Hayatsu, a senior official of JR Central, which operates the train, apologised and told reporters the driver's actions had been extremely inappropriate. The recent incident is thought to be the first in which a Shinkansen driver left the cab while a passenger train was moving. So anyway, bullet trains have an enviable punctuality rate and an impressive safety record, with no fatalities due to a derailment or collision since they went into service in 1964. A teenage boy did die in 1995 after attempting to jump on a bullet train as its doors were closing, and in 2015 a passenger died after setting fire to himself, while a woman in the same carriage died of smoke inhalation. I'm sorry, what a way to go. A man sets fire to himself on a train and you die of smoke inhalation. Anyway, I'm going to stop reading this story, Rob, because it is becoming morbid. Right.
Fair enough.
In another kind of related story, because it's to do with technology, equipment that we have invented as human beings to make life more convenient. Technology that we have created. A train would fit into that, Rob. So would an elevator, correct?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
So this story, Rob, is from WABI 5 in the United States by their staff, May the 19th. Men fall 8 floors down elevator shaft during brawl, police say.
Amazing. How did that happen?
Well, it was Pennsylvania. 3 Pennsylvania men were hurt after a brawl between them ended in all 3 falling down an elevator shaft. Officials say 3 men were fighting Monday on the 8th floor of an apartment building in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, when they broke through the elevator door and fell down the shaft. And the policeman explained the steel elevator door, that when you push the button, the door opens. They broke through that door. That was the door. There was no elevator there, so they just fell 8 floors to the bottom. How the fuck do you break through that elevator door?
Hang on, are you telling me that the door opens if you press the button even if the lift isn't there?
No, they smashed through the door.
Right. I mean, to be fair to them, let's be honest. I mean, they were obviously so committed to that fight. You know, they were so incensed by whatever wrong had befallen them that they just crashed through a steel door and fell 8 floors. Are they still alive?
The men fell onto. We don't cover stories, Rob, about people dying, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it. The men fell onto the elevator car, one remaining on top, while the other 2 crashed through the roof, ending up inside.
Jesus.
First responders extricated 2 of the men from the first floor and the third from the second floor. The victims were taken to hospital, one requiring an airlift. Tenants are puzzled at the situation, how this could have happened. Some are even afraid, Rob, to use the elevator. That's not an elephant that flew into the elevator. It's 3 humans, said one tenant. So I'm pretty sure it was faulty equipment. Elevators are supposed to have a bunch of fail-safes that might make them really safe, so I don't know why it would have had trouble, another tenant said. The investigation, Rob, is ongoing. I'd like to say I'll update you, but I probably won't.
Do you know what, Alex? I like your honesty. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
as opposed to you always saying you're going to update people and you never do. I just thought I'd be honest with the listeners, Rob.
Alex, I find that highly offensive. I mean, there must be at least, I think, of the times I say I'm going to follow up on a story, there must be at least 30 to 40% where that actually happens. Right,
back to the traitorous Guardian. I love this story, Rob. Now, I don't know how I came across this because I didn't realise this until I looked at it. I mean, I can read it out. But I don't know how I came across this, but The Guardian flags it as being more than 8 years old.
Right.
It's,
okay, that's fine.
2nd of May 2013. So how the fuck did I come across this? We'll never know. But I'm going to read it anyway. So anybody want a hot off the press story from 2013? Here you go. It's by the Press Association. It's just a great little story. Mix up at piracy talk as Women's Institute put on fancy dress. Now, I'm sure, Rob, that is, that's teasing you, Rob. You're thinking, what is that story about?
I mean, that's a really confusing headline. So, sorry, mix up at piracy talk as Women's Institute dress up in fancy dress.
Yeah, Rob, the first sentence will reveal all. Prepare yourself. A former hostage has spoken at the moment he walked into a Women's Institute meeting to give a talk on international piracy and found the group dressed as pirates.
I mean, there are no words.
So this guy, Colin...
That could be one of the greatest first sentences we've ever had.
Yeah, I agree. Colin Dark, a retired sailor from North Devon, has written a book about his experience of being kidnapped by pirates in 2008 and often gives talks on the subject. Since I was released 5 years ago, I've spoken at a lot of conferences and serious events about the dangers of piracy and how to survive. More recently, since writing the book, I've been talking to Rotary groups, Probus clubs and the occasional Women's Institute. When I arrived, there were ladies with blue rinses wearing pirate hats and waving swords around. I'm looking at pictures they got. They had been led to believe it was a talk about piracy through the ages. And I think they were worried I might be a bit upset as they were trivialising it. I just laughed and said it was like something than the Pirates of Penzance.
So basically, he'd been booked. Someone obviously generally booked him, but obviously hadn't really gone into the detail about what the talk would involve.
No. Rob, he talks about, look, this is a man who was traumatised, Rob. He said he was kidnapped. The pirates made a school teacher go along with him as well to translate into English. I remember the teacher was shouting down a telephone. He said, we're going to shoot the hostages one by one, starting with the captain. And you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. So basically, this man, probably with some degree of PTSD as a result, obviously. It's like Terry Waite going to do a talk to the Women's Institute and they're dressed up as prison guards, Rob.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Can
you think of any other equivalents?
There probably are. Maybe the hostages in the American hostages that are taken in Iran. I know so little about this. I shouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, just stop, Rob. Yeah, just stop. Okay, right. Well, that's that. Rob, you know my pirate story, don't you? I think I've told it on the podcast before.
Is this the one, the pirate on the underground, Alex?
Yeah, has it been told on the podcast before? Unfortunately, we can't tell people what episode, but yeah, I was accosted by a man dressed as a pirate with a fake parrot, kind of like stapled to his shoulder, and he needed to know his way to a certain tube line. Me being the good Samaritan I am, did direct him, but got a lot of very strange looks because I was going up and down elevators, standing next to a man dressed as a pirate. Which is when the more you tell that story, I find it even more bizarre because usually in London people wouldn't bat an eyelid at that. Yeah. Right, Rob, listen. I'm just going to finish on two stories related to meat.
Right.
Right? Yes. The first is chicken. The second is beef. Do you have a preference, Rob? Do you like beef or chicken? Or both?
Chicken's one of those I always feel that you need to... The thing with chicken is, I think that you always put it in a sauce. It's very rare that you just eat chicken by itself, whereas beef, like a steak or something, you'd happily eat that by itself. Chicken's quite versatile.
I do like a nice chicken sandwich, Rob. I eat quite a lot of chicken.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of chicken. I get bored of it, though. So, do I have a preference? Ultimately, no.
Right. Well, this is a story from Newsweek by Seren Morris. Again, it's slightly out of date. It's November 2021. But man eats raw chicken in post-workout meal, says vegetables make you weak.
Right. Yep, sure.
A man has said he regularly eats raw chicken and unpasteurised butter and milk as part of his post-workout meal, alarming Twitter users as he claims vegetables make you weak. On Saturday, he posted a photo of his meal and said, post-workout meal, fresh raw chicken, week-old steak I left in my fridge, my favourite bacon, raw butter, raw milk. Chicken is not bad at all, tastes fine. The meal is my standard meal I usually eat all the time. I mainly eat more steak over chicken, though, usually. He then posted a video. Since everyone is asking me for a video, here you go. And the video shows him eating raw chicken. And he said the raw primal diet is your natural diet.
No, it's not.
That regenerates you over time and will make you feel amazing. In the video, he says, it's not even bad, bro. You guys are tripping. You guys are terrified of it just because they told you there's bacteria in it. It's your natural diet. You literally naturally want to eat it. It tastes the same. Maybe it's not as good tasting. It's not amazing tasting, but it doesn't taste fucking bad. It's literally your normal diet. Here you go. He then eats the raw piece of chicken and says, 2 seconds, there you go. I just eat it every single fucking day. I'm not going to lie, I wash it down with milk to get used to it when I first started because I didn't like the taste so much. Now it's a lot easier. I still do the milk because it's easier to wash it all down. But it doesn't taste bad at all, bro. I could eat fucking rotten meat, 2-week-old meat. Bro, I don't give a fuck. It all just tastes the same.
Alex, when he says he's on this new diet, is that diet the fact that he's obviously suffering from severe food poisoning and so is literally just emanating liquids out of his body left, right and centre?
I don't know, but he does say, Rob, the plant-based agenda wants you to become a weak slave. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds are not optimal health. All of them contain anti-nutrients which cause issues. Think of it like nature's candy. It's fine in moderation and for certain circumstances, but it should not be your main diet. Vegetables, Rob, do not have nearly all of the minerals and vitamins you need for a diet, but animal products contain everything we need. There's no toxicity in eating raw meat. Cooking is what adds to toxicity, and etc., etc. We do, Alex, neither Rob or I endorse this man's views.
Yeah, I don't think we should be giving this man any more publicity. He just sounds like a moron.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough, Rob. Right.
Beef, Alex, beef. Give me beef.
Thank you. Right, beef. This is a story from Ohio, South Euclid, I would believe you pronounce it. What's the beef? Woman hit with meat package at St. Euclid Walmart.
Right. Okay, fine.
That's not a euphemism, Rob.
Meat package. Let me show you my meat package.
According to South Euclid Police, it's unknown as to what initially led to the beef between the two women. So I see that the police like a joke over there, just like our joke.
Clever.
Police, yep. Rob. The South Euclid Police Department posted a story on its Facebook site about a fight that took place at the potato chip aisle at Walmart. Where else? When officers arrived, they learned that one woman had a protection order out against the other, stemming from an incident when the two resided in the same duplex in University Heights. Apparently, when the two made eye contact with one another at Walmart, the protected party was confronted by the other woman, who threatened to beat her ass, as well as her 7-year-old daughter. The woman pulled down her COVID-19 mask and attempted to spit at her. When she missed, she entered the other woman's shopping cart and struck her in the face, Rob, with a 10-pound log of prepackaged meat. Again, not a euphemism. Would you like to see my 10-pound log of prepackaged meat?
Is that the episode title?
Oh my God. Thank you, Rob. How did I miss that? Yeah, 10-pound. Oh my, yes. That is absolutely brilliant. Officers arrested a 25-year-old Cleveland woman and charged with assault and violating a temporary protection order. When arrested, her 5-year-old child was turned over to another family member. A criminal history check revealed a history of violent behaviour and multiple warrants out for her arrest. I'm looking at a picture. This is from they've. It looks like one of those giant salamis. It's very. That would hurt.
It's got girth, Alex. I think. Yeah. That's what I was imagining. Yeah.
I don't want to have a conversation about girth, Rob.
Fair enough.
Okay, Rob. You got some stories.
Yeah. So the first story is from Japan Today. It is from the 24th of April.
So you've got a story from Japan as well.
I have.
It's not by way of Jack in Todmorden. He's normally where we get our Japanese stories from. Jack from Todmorden.
Yeah, no, it's not. No. I found this myself.
Right.
No journalist listed. Headline: Man arrested for defrauding his 35 girlfriends.
Okay, I like stories like this, weirdly.
So, time and time again, we see cases of criminals breaking the cardinal rule of getting too greedy and blowing the lid off their various schemes. This brings us to Takashi Magiyawa. There we are. I think that's close enough.
Rob, that was painful.
Yeah, I know, Alex. A 39-year-old part-time worker of no fixed address who was arrested in Osaka for defrauding 35 women with whom he pretended to be in serious relationships. In the most recent case, he told a 47-year-old woman that his birthday was on February 22nd, when it was in fact November 13th.
Egregious.
I know. Other victims have also come forward, such as a 40-year-old woman who he told his birthday was in July, and a 30-year-old who thought his birthday was in April. The current victim... Basically, what he was doing, Alex, he's getting. Well, let's not spoil the surprise. The current victim stands at 35, with the possibility of more, who are accusing Miyazawa of cheating them out of a total of 100,000 yen, made up of smaller birthday gifts of money and clothing.
Birthday gifts. So it's genius. So you basically get like 52 birthdays a year, Rob.
Exactly, Alex. He was defrauding them out of birthday gifts.
Rob, can I just say, have you remembered that it's my birthday tomorrow?
Alex, your birthday's in August.
So it doesn't work with people who know you well. That's the problem.
No, this is why he was in relationships with. Also, by the way, how do you maintain 35 different relationships?
Yeah, I know, right?
Miyazawa reportedly met his victims while he was selling hydrogen water shower heads and other equipment through. By the way,
of course he was.
He was selling hydrogen water shower heads and other equipment for a multi-level marketing company. He was showering shower heads for a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. Rob, can I just ask you a question? You're a man who seems to have done every job known to man.
Yeah.
I'm going to think the answer is yes. Did you ever work as a door-to-door salesman?
No. I mean, the closest that, Alex, you were with me when the closest I went door to door. And obviously there's a story related to that, which I think we told this podcast many times, which came across as insensitive, according to you.
Relating to Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. We went to Ozzy Osbourne's daughter's house, Kelly Osbourne. She was not there. Outside there was a lot of junk food paraphernalia.
Yeah.
And a man opened the door, looking quite dishevelled. He said she wasn't there. Rob was canvassing for votes. Needed to fill out some kind of questionnaire or something. When the guy wasn't interested, and he explained that, look, me and Kelly's dog has just died. And Rob took a deep breath and said, I understand your dog's just died, but this questionnaire really is very important.
He didn't fill in the questionnaire, unfortunately.
No.
I quit that job soon afterwards.
It was a fun afternoon stroke evening, that, Rob. I remember it well.
It was bizarre, Alex, and it was bizarre. I really don't know. And also, for what they were offering, it really wasn't worth it. Anyway, right. So obviously, he was selling equipment through a multi-level marketing scheme and started up romantic relationships with each of them under the assumption that marriage was on the cards. However,
right. As
his web of lies began to dissolve like the hydrogen molecules in his therapeutic water, what a beautiful line.
This is journalism, Rob. What paper is this from?
This is Tokyo Today. Sorry, Japan Today.
How did you find this, Rob?
I may have heard it on a podcast.
Right, okay.
But yeah, I'm going to read it again. However, as his web of lies begin to dissolve like hydrogen molecules in his therapeutic water, the women all formed a victims association, reporting to the police last February.
They formed their own union.
Basically, yeah. Those who read the news online were filled with a conflicting mix of disgust and awe at the scope of Miyazawa's crimes and infidelity.
That's what I feel, Rob, every time I see you over webcam.
A conflicting mix of disgust and awe.
Yeah, very much so.
Do you know what? I'll take that. And then what I love is this paper has basically just has gone and just summarized the comments as part of the article.
Right.
So there were sound bites. So one person said, can you imagine all that scheduling and planning to date 35 people at the same time? Another said, I guess that's what they call an alpha male. Another says, even if he sees one day, there's still 5 more after a month. Isn't it easier to get a job at that point?
Yeah. What I love about people who scam is the amount of effort they put into it. They could have just got a job.
Absolutely. What I love, Alex, the comments that they've captured, it really, I think it covers a nice cross section. I'm going to leave it there and move on to my next story.
Okay.
So this is from Fox 2 Detroit. I did find this one myself. It is from the 27th of April by Charlie Langton and Amber Ainsworth. And the headline, man builds poop wall in Washtenaw County after dispute with neighbour.
I have this story. It's on my list of things to read out, not this week, but yes, I saw this too. I wonder where we both saw it. How weird is that we would both find a story from Detroit? Anyway,
it's
okay.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. So a 25-foot long wall of poop divides 2 properties in Lodi Township. It's a smelly fence that Rain Larbuth says his farmer neighbour built after dispute. Normally they spread it on a field, but they decided to make a fence out of it. Larbuth's grandfather developed the farm 100 years ago, but the property was divided, and there was a dispute over the property line last year. That's when the manure appeared, close to the house. It's just a shit pile over there. said Jaden Schwarzel. Larbeth has tenants living in the house who are forced to deal with smelling the cow poop every day. It's like you can't leave the window open. The whole upstairs will smell like it. Said Koyan Gatto. Koyan Gatto. What a great name. Gatto and Schwarzel live in the house and have complained about the smell of the poop. When asked about the poop wall, the neighbour said, "It's not a poop wall, it's a compost fence."
Yeah, that's my favourite quote. Apparently, officials can't do anything because, as they say, the feces is on the farmer's property. It's his shit, yeah. Rob. They can't do anything about it. But I would have thought there's some kind of, I don't know. I don't think that would stand over here. I think if you just put a mound of shit in your garden, then antisocial behaviour sort of legislation might kick in. I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine it probably would do.
Try it, Rob.
I could, Alex. I mean, I'd have to make out my own fecal matter, which, again, it seems like a whole new level.
Do you remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Rob? Where that was it Robert Duvall who was in that? No, who was it? Who was the main actor?
I think Robert Duvall, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought it was him. Yeah, and he kind of loses his mind, doesn't he? And he builds that huge mound in his living room.
Yes,
and I imagine you like that, but with your own shit. But to be fair, Rob, you do have at the moment a very active creator of feces and other bodily fluids in Lyra, so you could just use hers and start to make it into a kind of monument in the garden.
Well, Alex, I mean, it has to say, it's not just Lyra. Obviously, I have 2 indoor cats as well, so I mean, I have a ready supply of feces of varying degrees.
And yours and Sarah's as well. So, I mean, put it all together, it probably won't take you that long to make your own shit mountain.
A ready supply of feces of varying degrees, is that an episode title?
That's very good as well. Only that, the one you mentioned earlier was superb. But yes, That is very good. That's very strong.
Just to finish off this article, I've got one more after this, but he said he also told his neighbour, he was also told that his neighbour did not like poop, to which he responded something in order about not liking the price of milk before he got back to work on his farm. What a great quote.
Yeah.
Very last story is also from Fox News. I don't know what outlet Fox News goes. It is a franchise. Anyway, it is from the 13th of May. So
you're really supporting the Murdoch Empire this week, Rob.
I am, yeah. Unfortunately, there it is by Bree Stimson. Again, good name. Headline: Florida woman 28 allegedly dressed as student at Miami High School to promote Instagram account.
Again, how did you find it? I never tell you where I find mine, so I don't expect you to tell me where you find yours, but very good.
I'll keep it a mystery. A 28-year-old Florida woman who allegedly went to a Miami high school on Monday dressed as a student to promote her Instagram account was later arrested, according to reports.
What? I mean, you've got to admire her sort of entrepreneurial skills. She wants to promote this Instagram account, so she thinks, I need to get down with the kids, so I'll pretend to be a student and go to high school and pass out pamphlets. I don't know what she did.
Exactly that, Alex.
Right, okay.
So Audrey Nicole Francini is accused of handing out flyers to students promoting her social media account while wearing a backpack and carrying a skateboard.
Sorry, whoa. This isn't the 90s. This isn't 1991. What is she, Bart Simpson? Did she go, hey, cowabunga, guys?
Have you ever seen the really topical meme of Steve Buscemi walking around, and he's it's something like, hey, young people, or something like this, when he's obviously like a 40-year-old man, but I think he has a backward cap and he's carrying a skateboard.
Was he doing it genuinely, was it? Or he was wearing that get up genuinely, was he?
It was in a film. I think it's in a film role, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So yeah, so she's handing out flyers, promoting a social media account, wearing a backpack and carrying a skateboard, and recording her interactions on her phone while she was stopped by school security, according to WFOR TV in Miami. Francini allegedly told the officer she was a student looking for the registration office and was stopped for a second time when she continued to hand out flyers, the report said. The school was advised of a potential threat on campus when she allegedly refused to leave, but Francini allegedly left through a side door before she could be stopped. Police this is the ultimate irony. Police identified her through her Instagram and was later arrested at home in North Miami Beach, according to WTYJ TV. So ultimately, Alex, I think her plan worked. The fact that police were able to identify her through her Instagram account, which is basically what she wanted.
The irony of ironies, Rob, of the end of that story. Yeah, I mean, I just love that.
Yeah, what a brilliant story.
Poetic justice in action. Okay, Rob, let's go straight into this before we get onto our listener story of the week. I've got to cover this, Rob. I have to cover it. I love this. I've got some related things to it. Associated Press website by Samia Kulab. Iraq's prank TV show depicting IS attacks taken off air.
Fucking hell.
This is fucking brilliant. Baghdad, Rob. Responding to viewer outrage, Iraq's media regulator cancelled a TV prank show that lured guests into simulated ambushes by militants, forcing participants and viewers to relive some of the terror and fear that were widespread under the rule of the Islamic State group, otherwise known, Rob, as Daesh.
How did someone think this was a good idea?
This gets better, Rob. It's like an Alan Partridge idea. The show, Tanab Razlan, was being aired by local Asia TV as a special during the holy month of Ramadan until Iraq's Communication and Media Commission this week ordered it off the air. The show, form of
also, during an Islamic festival, that seems even more inappropriate.
Yes. The show, a form of reality TV, follows Iraqi celebrity guests, including actresses and soccer players, who are invited to what is described as a charity event, but then fall prey under various scenarios to a staged ambush by actors playing militants. They are later freed by other actors playing Iraqi security forces. The ambush reenactments include, Rob, fake weapons, stunt explosions, while the militants threaten to detonate fake suicide vests. The show's name, Tanab Razlan, refers to the name of its presenter, Razlan Haddad, and a popular Iraqi game that children play with marbles, in which a score is called a tanab. Hidden cameras film everything, and the fear that grips the show's guests is real. The show has raised ethics concerns and provoked outrage from angry viewers who said its content was highly offensive. So the presenter, Haddad, said the cancellation was unfair, as the show also depicts the heroism of Iraqi security forces. The decision is unjust, he said. In one of the most controversial episodes, Rob, cameras follow Iraqi actress Nesma Tanab as she is taken to a rural area outside Baghdad under the pretext of meeting a family liberated from Islamic State rule. Along the way, she is told at a mock checkpoint that the area they are about to enter is unsafe and was under attack by IS militants just 3 hours earlier. Tanab is visibly concerned and asked to turn back, but is ignored. Once she is brought inside a house, an explosion is heard, and actors playing militants storm the building. She is blindfolded, she cries out, screams, and then faints as actors playing Iraqi soldiers burst onto the scene and liberate her. The show was produced by Popular Mobilization Forces, a government-backed umbrella group of mostly Shiite militias backed by Iran, which fought alongside Iraqi security forces and IS.
So are you telling me there's an actual militant group involved in this TV show?
Yes. Now, right, Rob, that's the story. But I heard about it. Yeah, go on.
I was about to say, this reminds me of a Russian TV show. I think we've talked about it on this before. It's called The Intercept. Or The Interception, I think it was. And basically what it was, the contestant had to, they had to steal a car along with their assailants, and they had to evade police for up to 35 minutes. And if they managed that, they would win the car. Okay,
that's a fucking great show. Stick it on over here. Call it Chase HQ. I love that game. Loved it. Fucking loved that game. You know, brings back good memories, Rob. Do you remember Chase HQ?
Just.
Okay, right, Rob, this is where I got this story from, or found out about it. This is from the Traitorous Guardian, third time this week, Stuart Heritage. No laughing matter, the TV prank shows that went too far.
Oh, brilliant.
Let's talk about some others. So one of them was called Had al-Bak in Lebanon, which means hold your heart, which seems apt given that, like the show I've just mentioned, it existed mainly to trick actors into thinking they'd been kidnapped by terrorists who want to kill them. In one episode, an actor was carjacked by masked gunmen who held a pistol to his head, then took him to a warehouse for 7 hours, where, fearing for his life, he broke down in tears. He was so traumatized, he didn't let the show air for 2 years. Why did he ever let it air? After 2 years, he went, you're all right, guy. Yeah, I get the joke. Go, good jape. Stick it on the air.
What really concerns me is, do you remember we had that story about that staff training session, which basically sounded like a torture session?
Yes.
It just reminds me of that. But yeah, as you rightly say, why on earth? 2 years still doesn't seem like a lot of time for the potential psychological impact to have lessened.
I just would have thought that criminal proceedings would be the only appropriate thing, like suing for compensation, because
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter whether it's a prank or not. In your mind, it was real. Therefore, presumably the PTSD is just as real. Anyway, let's hear about another one from Algeria. Camera cache. When we do a prank show in the UK, it's just Jeremy Beadle dressed up as a traffic warden. For the rest of the world, literal abduction seems to be the norm. In one episode of the Algerian prank show, Camera cache, the footballer Majid Bouguera was abducted by supposed terrorists in public and driven to the desert, where he's forced to kneel and await his own murder. Wait for the end of the clip, where he realises that his corpse is not going to be eaten by vultures. There is polite laughter and applause. What a trooper. Now, this one I did watch is a YouTube prank called Killing My Own Kid. It's a guy with the world...
What?
It's a guy, basically, I watched this. It's a guy who plays a prank on his wife, who tricks his wife into thinking that he's just thrown his toddler over a banister and down a flight of stairs. She basically comes home. He's worked this out with his kid, right? He's got a fake. He's got a fake effigy of his young child. So think how traumatizing this is for the child as well, by the way.
Yeah. And
so she comes home and she comes upstairs and he's lying down on the landing, playing with the real child. You know, so he's got him up above his head and he's sort of swinging him around, all of that kind of thing. He says, "Can I have a glass of water?" She goes downstairs to get a glass of water. He swaps the kid for an effigy of the kid and then hurls it over the banister. Oh, no, that's it. When she comes up with the water, all she can see is the final act of the swing where the kid goes over the banister and right down to the other floor. And she runs down the stairs incredibly distressed. When she goes downstairs and realises it is an effigy and not a real child, he comes downstairs, says, "Hey, it's all been a prank," and she refuses to speak to him and tells him he'll be sleeping on the couch. I mean, what Alex, a horrific thing to do to your partner.
Is it just me, or surely that's grounds for divorce? Because,
yep.
I mean, conceive that. I can understand that maybe in some people's mind that would be quite a funny joke. I suppose, well, my concern is that there's part of him who actually wants to do that. In all honesty,
right. Last one, Rob. Urgent Landing, which is my favourite. I've saved it for last. From Lebanon. Another one for the being a celebrity in Lebanon sounds like the worst thing on earth file. Urgent Landing is a show where a number of celebrities are ferried to Beirut Airport and taken onto a chartered plane, only to be told shortly after takeoff there's been a catastrophic engine failure and that they're all likely to die in an orgy of fire and twisted metal. Now, Rob, my issue with these shows is, well, I have no words, but you could potentially trigger off like a stroke or a heart attack in somebody.
Yeah, because, I mean, again, with reality TV, they wouldn't have basically signed a disclaimer beforehand, I wouldn't have thought. So if someone had actually had a serious heart condition, for instance, and it triggered it, what would you do? Because you would literally be liable. It's like the man who died on Noel Edmonds' show, isn't it?
Well, I don't remember that. What happened?
Oh, God.
Careful, Rob.
So... No. This is reported fact. It's not. This isn't speculation.
I know for a fact Noel Edmonds listens to this podcast, and
as far as I know, I think it was a bungee jump that went wrong. I would have to look it up, Alex, and report back. Let me see if I can find it.
I'm looking to Oh, right. He quit the Late Breakfast show during the 80s after a man tragically died on set. A man plunged to his death when a bungee jump went horribly wrong. Oh my dear God!
Yeah, I told you I wasn't making this up. I mean, horrific.
So do you think that those? That now makes sense because so much of Alan Partridge, particularly Knowing Me, Knowing You All, was based on the Noel's house party idea. Do you think that when they were doing Knowing Me, Knowing You, that whole idea for somebody should die at the end of every series,
and it's an accidental death. It's never intentional. Yes. It's always something that goes horribly wrong.
Yes.
Good point, Alex. Never thought about that.
Yes.
By the way, the stunt was called Hang 'em High, which seems really inappropriate now. We're not laughing at the man's death, by the way.
By the way, the other thing I was going to say is, I'm going to throw this out there. If I ever get the chance to speak to Steve Coogan or Armando Anichio, I'll check this out for myself, but I'm convinced of it. You know I'm Alan Partridge, where he's staying in the Travel Tavern?
Yes.
I know all hotel rooms look alike, but the layout and the camera shots of that hotel room are identical to when we see Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks stay in the hotel that he stays in there. And throughout the entire series of Twin Peaks, Dale Cooper speaks into a dictaphone, record with his ideas, which is exactly what Alan Partridge does.
Interesting. That's a very acute observation.
Right. Okay, Rob, I've got another story for you just to finish because it's related to what you've just been saying. This is from the Traitorous Guardian, bizarrely. Not related to the last story I read, I just happened to see this. French military pilot tied up on firing range during bombing as hazing prank.
Okay, fine.
So he has filed a legal complaint after being subjected to a hazing ritual in which he was tied to a target and had fighter jets open fire around him, his lawyer has said. The young man had just been posted to an airbase in the south of the island of Corsica when he was grabbed by colleagues and tied up with adhesive tape. After having a bag put over his head, the recruit in his 30s was transported to a live fire target range, tied to a target, and then heard fighter jets open fire and drop munitions around him for 20 minutes. Now, if he didn't shit himself, Rob, he's a better man than me.
I don't know
Rob
what to start with.
Rob looked actually traumatised.
Can you, honestly, how... And I know that these hazing rituals go on a lot in the armed forces, allegedly. But that man would be psychologically damaged for a significant period.
Yeah, would you? But if there was a Full Metal Jacket style, you know the scene I'm talking about, you wouldn't blame him, would you? Let's be honest.
No, exactly.
And Rob, on that upbeat note, it is time. I've really enjoyed this episode, Rob. It's kind of nice because I haven't seen you in a while, so
yeah, true.
You're more tolerable to me. It is time for our.
Or was it a mix of disgust and awe? I think you said.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do. I've kind of made my own composition this week again. How old is Lyra now?
She is 5 weeks. 5 weeks and 2 days.
This is to celebrate her 5 weeks and 2 days anniversary. Anyway, it is time for our listener story of the week. When she's old enough, Rob, you can play all these to her. I'll keep doing them.
I don't think there's any need to do that, is there?
Right. It's time for our listener story of the week. For some reason, I was about to do that in a Nazi accent, and I don't know why.
That's a strange twist of the podcast. So this
I think it's
is
because
from...
I think it's because I'm reading about this French military thing, which I know isn't connected to that directly, but it was pretty horrific. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think the French military is still under Nazi rule. I think it would be slander to suggest otherwise.
Were the French in league with the Nazis?
Well, I mean, I'm not in league. I think that they were basically the country of France was annexed by Nazi Germany.
Wow, France
was under German rule. Anyway, let's not talk about the Second World War.
Cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
Well, I was trying to avoid that particular phrase. Anyway, look, on a lighter note, this is from Khyber. It is from the Manchester Evening News. It is from the 24th of April.
Can I just say, any story...
1 second now. I'll back in a second.
Rob has abruptly left the episode. I don't know if something that I said about France has offended him. Maybe my comment about cheese-eating surrender monkeys has upset him. He just got up and walked off. Oh, there you are. You're back. What was that about?
Yeah, I was so sickened by your comments about Nazi Germany. I had to go and vomit momentarily, but I'm back now. I've composed myself.
I'm enjoying what's happened to your hair since you've put back on your earphones. It looks like one of those comb-overs.
Oh. I think it's because I had gel in my hair yesterday. I haven't showered yet.
Here's the question, Rob. Do you think you're going to go bald? Do you have that in your family? Did your dad lose his hair or not?
He had a bit of a bald patch, but
okay.
Yeah, he still had a bit of he had a good head of hair until.
Okay, that's good to hear, Rob.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'll go the same way. Also, I have to say, I know I mentioned my new barber's on one of the episodes, but I have to say that it's still holding strong, and I'll be definitely returning to them probably next week because it's Sarah's birthday on Tuesday, so we're going to go out for dinner. So
where are you going? Greg's.
It's a restaurant in Bishop Stortford's called Skewer.
What kind of food is it?
It's mainly Turkish.
Right. You I think you'll hear it on the edit. The restaurant that I suggested you were taking Sarah to. I don't think you heard it, so you can hear it on the edit.
Right, okay. I mean, it's going to say harvester, isn't it?
Nope.
Right. Anyway, okay, yeah. So, story. Uber driver drove into a Salford canal and still charged me £29.31 for the journey.
Yeah, well, okay. It's probably in their terms and conditions, you know.
It wouldn't surprise me. Really wouldn't. So, a woman has spoken of her terror after her Uber driver drove into canal in Salford and still charged her for the journey.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. I thought that Salford Canal was the equivalent of like the Lidos we have in London. That is where the locals go and swim. You know, it's your day out, isn't it? So, isn't it?
No, Alex. That's
Mummy, can we go to Salford Canal? Is often heard on the streets of Manchester for a swim.
No, Manchester has many great leisure facilities and outdoor swimming pools. I'm going to move on. Emma Lavelle was a passenger in the vehicle when the incident happened in Eccles in the early hours of April 11th. The 30-year-old said she noticed her Uber driver driving towards the Bridgewater Canal and told him to stop. But the driver allegedly ignored her pleas and turned left, driving the car straight into the water.
Do you think, can I just say, do you think this was an act of desperation? He'd had enough and he just decided, where a pilot decides, sod the fact I've got all these passengers in there with me, I'm going to take this plane down into a nosedive because I've had enough of life. Do we think this is what happened here? Do we think he was so upset by Manchester United? I'm assuming he was a United fan, with the whole Super League thing. Or maybe he was just buoyant and he was a Manchester City fan and he just got overexcited.
Possibly. I mean, I don't think City hadn't won the league at this point in time, but it's possible, Alex. It's possible. It seems like driving to Canal is a slow way to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not giving tips on how to do it or anything like that, but this just sounds like he was just following a sat nav. Oh, actually, that's exactly what it says. He later told police he'd been following his sat nav just off Worsley Road. Emma, who was a transport manager from Eccles, ironically, says she managed to get out of the vehicle and was told to walk the rest of the journey. And was told to walk the rest of the journey.
Well, so she's soaking wet, is she? With presumably whatever floating in the Salford Canal. Well, sort of on her person. What
basically happened? So the car was kind of there's a picture of the car. The car is like precariously positioned over the side of it. So imagine sort of like
it
Italian
didn't dive
with
in.
A bus. No, it's it's just kind of like hovering. So I think she managed to get out. So after making
hang on a minute. Is she sure it was an Uber and not those duck tour things? Because that's what they do. That's Manchester's equivalent. It's a man in a saloon and it takes driving to the Salford Canal. That's what they do in Manchester, Rob. That's the tourist. I've just looked it up. It's on TripAdvisor. 3 out of 5. All right, apart from the used condoms floating in the water. There you go.
Just to clarify, there is no tourist attraction in Manchester where men drive saloon cars into the canal as part of an exciting tour of the city.
Be. Let's do it. The Salford Rapids. It's a log ride. It's a log ride.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely logs in there, I'm sure, but probably not the one you want to encounter. So after making the 15-minute trip home, she realised she's still been charged the £29.31 for the trip. Speaking to Manchester Evening News, Emma said...
Sorry, where the fuck was she coming from for it to be £29? That's quite a lot.
I'm just trying to think where... So she was going from Lee, which is, for those who are not in the know, it's near Wigan, going to Eccles. So it's a fair drive.
Okay.
So speaking to the Manchester Evening News, Emma said he turned down the wrong street. I said, you shouldn't go down there. Don't continue down the road. There's a canal. He just carried on. And I told him he was in the canal. He asked me if I could get out, and thankfully I could. He said, are you okay to walk home? It's a 15-minute walk and not a nicest area to walk on your own.
Did she give him a tip?
I don't think so.
Don't drive into... Yeah, she did. Don't drive into canals.
But also, Alex, I think, he was generally concerned about her safety. Obviously, he said it's a 15-minute walk and not the... Oh, no, sorry, no. He just said, are you okay to walk home? She then said it's not the nicest area to walk on your own.
No.
It could have been worse. Both Emma and the driver escaped the vehicle unhurt. Police were called to eventually recover the car from the water. Emma says she received a refund from Uber for the journey. She continued...
Is that it?
On Saturday.
Is that it? Just a refund?
No compensation, just a refund. What's you want, Alex?
Right.
She continued, I emailed them on Sunday saying I was involved in an accident and have still been charged. They said they would investigate, but no one's come back to me. Then it was on the news. They contacted me about the article, and I contacted them with the article, and they emailed to say they will give me a refund. It's nice to know, isn't it?
Sorry, that was an absolutely exceptional story, Rob. In what has been, I must say, an exceptional and energetic episode. I have really enjoyed this week's episode 337. I mean, I enjoy them all, but I have a feel this is going to come out particularly well, Rob, and we bring this episode of LA Podcast to a close as we look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation, yet some degree of trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 338, Rob, as we move ever more forward, there's too much to choose from, Rob. As we move ever more forward.
Go on, Alex, you can do this.
Oh, well, thanks. Okay. No, okay.
I'm not helping you.
As we move ever more forward, like a Japanese bullet train driver popping off during a 150 kilometre per mile train ride to do a shit, and just also to kind of catch up on the local news, Rob. There you go, on his phone. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode. I'm not really happy with that, but it'll do. To our next episode, which will be episode 338. We can be found on our website, lapodcast.net. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/LApodcast. We're on Twitter at LApodcast. We are on Spotify. Yes. And if you want to email us a story, it's lapodcast.net@gmail.com. That's lapodcast.net@gmail.com. You can post it on Twitter or on Facebook, but email is probably the best way. Don't post us, there's no address, and even if there was, we don't want your unsolicited mail, even though we are soliciting it, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Right, Rob, it is time for the headlines which never made it. How many have you got?
4.
Same here. I'll start. New Zealand man threatened with prosecution over penis pothole drawings, which takes us back to the beginning of the episode, Rob. He's been drawing very large penises around the potholes in his home city in Auckland with the hope of attracting the attention of his local council. But he's now been threatened with police action.
That seems unnecessary, especially when he's doing it for a good cause.
Yeah.
My first headline, overgrown monster house full of dog feces and rubbish terrifies children.
Is it Manchester, is it?
I can't remember where I found the headline. It just amused me. It wasn't. I mean, the story was just basically of I think when the former occupant had died and the house had just been left to deteriorate. Really.
Okay. Bride leaves groom at altar in India for failure to recite multiplication tables.
I completely get that.
So basically, she'd been told that he was educated. So on the day of the ceremony, she asked him to recite his multiplication tables, and he couldn't do it, so she walked off.
Alex, no one wants to be married to a dunce.
Okay. You have that printed on a t-shirt. I like
it. Belgian farmer accidentally moves French border.
What? No, I need to know more. What do you mean he moves it? It's not an actual bloody piece of rope on the ground, is it?
So the French-Belgian border is basically just has markers. They have stone markers that actually denote where delineate is what I meant to say. Denote where the border actually falls. But this one marker was on his field, and it kept hitting his tractor with it, so decided to move it. And therefore, actually moving the Belgian border into France.
I'd love it if that had escalated a war.
Just off this very small patch of land.
Yeah. Indian government says 5G doesn't cause COVID-19. Also points out India has no 5G networks.
Good point. Michigan woman glues eye shut after mistaking nail glue for eye drops.
Fucking hell. Fuck.
She left her contacts in overnight and then realised she needed to take them out because her eyes had dried out, and in her confused state picked up the wrong bottle.
Fuck. Last headline from me. Huge 80-person pub fight breaks out in Chorley, Lancashire. Check that one out.
I mean, that is Manchester related. 80-person, bloody hell! That's impressive.
Yeah, it was a small skirmish.
Yeah. Now this This one I liked. So Usher, remember Usher? So
the artist?
Usher,
What do you mean remember
the
him?
artist.
He's still around, Rob.
I don't think he's done an awful lot recently, though, as far as I'm aware.
I don't know.
So Usher didn't use Ushbucks to pay dancers, Club says, amid social media allegations to use fake money. I just like the idea that Usher used something called Ushbucks.
It's a great idea. I'll just print my own money and I'll go into shops and I'll say, yeah, this is a new currency.
But if you're a celebrity, you would think actually that if they did print their own currency, that might actually have a legitimate value.
Maybe we could start printing local anaesthetic dollars. Rob, before we leave this episode, can I make another... I know we can't, and Face is Strange, there's no pressure. But I would love some kind of mock-up, Rob, of the Salford Canal log flume ride, whatever you want to call it, theme attraction. Because, that just sounds all kind of brilliant.
So let's leave it with him and see what he comes back with.
Okay, Rob, it's the end of this episode. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your patience as well during these breaks. But we're trying to give you plenty of content on these episodes when they come back, and really high quality content as that. Not that it's not been high quality in the past, but even better quality, Rob. Waitrose quality.
Alex, stop talking.
God bless.
And keep it local.